Hi, welcome to Main Street Macro. I'm Neela Richardson. As any pro in the real estate industry can tell you, there are three essentials to selling a property: location, location, and location. Well, that may be changing post pandemics as the trends that were long in the making have accelerated over the past year. In fact, there are three trends we're watching in terms of location. The first is where we live. One of the hallmarks of the US labor market has historically been the mobility of its workforce. The fact that workers were willing to pick up and move to where the jobs were ensured that the jobs market remained dynamic and productive. However, workers' willingness to go to where the jobs were dampened by the fact that many of the high paying jobs created since the Great Recession were in places that were really expensive to live in, like Silicon Valley or New York City. And so the number of people who actually changed locations for jobs started to decline. And as recently as March of last year, the number of people who actually moved hit a record low, the lowest we've seen since records were kept back in 1948. So while firms may be embracing remote work and maybe even a completely virtual workforce, it'll be even a tougher sell to get people to move to where the new jobs are being created. The second trend we're watching is where we work. Now, most jobs can't be done remotely, but there are some industries that were able to make a near seamless transition to remote work, like business services and finance. These industries weren't as affected by the pandemic, but there are some trends within these industries that deserve special attention, including the new demand for office workers now that the physical building may not be an option going forward for most firms. Now, currently, 1 in 5 workers in the US is working from home. And as companies double down on their investments in remote technology, fewer of us may be going back to the office full time, even after the recession recedes. The third trend we're watching is where we shop. The shift from in store sales to online sales was already well underway before the pandemic hit. However, concerns about the virus accelerated the shift of shoppers shopping online, and e commerce has grown as a percentage of all sales. The retail sector has been in particularly hard hit by the pandemic. Yet those retailers that were able to change from online sales and adapt to this e-commerce online environment were able to even thrive during the pandemic. Retail sales were the first economic indicator to rebound after the pandemic hit. And that was driven in large part by e commerce. So that is a sign that we've all become a lot more comfortable with shopping from home. So you may ask, will I ever leave the house again? Of course we will. In fact, I'm going to test my retail theories at my local mall on a particular handbag as soon as possible. But the real takeaway may be that in the new normal, Main Street economic activity will be far less limited by location in the future. Thank you for watching the Main Street Macro blog. For more of our insights on the week ahead, please go to adpri.org.